Bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. I want to tell you guys to relax, let it breathe, plant the seed. Once you plant the seed and you remain consistent, it's over. And I'm going to say this again. Once you plant the seed and remain consistent, it's game over. Once you plant the seed, don't put a time limit on the seed. Let it breathe. And I'm going to say this again. Once you plant the seed, don't put a time limit on the seed. Let it breathe. See, what happens is we live in a world where they use everything and make it negative. So when it comes to age in society, they're projecting your life with another person's life, and they're not telling you that. But when a person asks, how old are you? And you tell them their age, they're projecting, well, if you're this age, you should have this, X, Y, and Z. And if you don't have this, X, Y, and Z, what happened to you? You're losing, you're behind. Let me tell you guys something. Don't put a time limit. Don't rush anything. I'm gonna share this with you guys from personal experience. Right now, I am feeling the momentum. I am feeling the momentum. I don't need anybody to tell me anything. I am feeling the momentum. But I think about what will my life be like if I came to YouTube 5 years, got all shout outs from all content creators, became successful, became a millionaire, and I had the wrong people around me. That would have been the worst thing ever. If that seed that I planted, if it just, woof, all of a sudden turned into a straight beanstalk, what would have happened is I will be 100% honest, I probably will, crashed out. And you're probably thinking, why? Because what happened is, if I came to YouTube 5 years and made 5 million, the people that turned on me, do you think they would have turned on me if I had 5 million? No, they would have remained no matter what. If they got smacked in the back of the neck, they would have remained no matter what, because wow, you got 5 million. But the fact that, guess what, I've been on YouTube for 5 years and I didn't get the 5 million, those same people say, oh, whatever. They're not feeling you. So if they're not feeling you, I'm not feeling you. They show their true colors and they bounce. So now on this spring up / come up, what happens is I am so blessed that the seed that I planted 5 years ago, it didn't blossom and it took time. Because what happens is people do not have time. Time is of the essence. And if somebody look at you and then they see a quick spring and then they realize, okay, we stopped seeing the mangoes growing. We stopped seeing mangoes is my favorite fruit, so follow the analogy. So the thing about a mango is before they hit the stores, it starts very small. And that's why even Jesus said, if you had the faith the size of a mustard seed, you'll be okay. And a mustard seed is small. But see, that's the problem. You cannot have faith if you're focused on power. Because if you're focused on power, which is for the weak, that's why I always call them the weak elites. If you're focused on power, what happens is you need that seed to spring automatically. You need it now. It's J.G. Wentworth. It's my money and I want it now. You need that now, because what happens is you're focused on power. And people that want to validate somebody, they're going to be like, well, let's see what you have to offer. And at that point, you're going to feel like, oh man, a lot of people give up and they planted the seed and they ran away from the garden and they can't even claim the benefits of the crop because they ran away from the garden. And I'm going to say this again. They ran away from the garden. No, when it's all said and done, once you plant the seed, you got to let it breathe, relax. It's going to be okay. Literally, it's going to be okay. You cannot rush the process. The only thing that you can do is enjoy the process, but you cannot rush the process. Why would you want to rush the process? Could you imagine having millions of dollars and the wrong people around you? Do you know how dangerous that can be? And I'm going to say this again. Having millions of dollars even touching $1 billion, and you got 50 people that's really your enemy, but at the end of the day, they're at your mansion party. You're walking around your mansion, you thinking, oh, I don't need my tool on me, I'm good. Next thing you know, oh, shots rang out, Channel 44 News at a mansion party. What happened? The problem is, people kept seeing that seed grow. When people keep seeing your seed grow, they're not going to turn their back on you. They will never betray you because your seed continues to keep growing. And guess what? If it keeps growing and you remain generous, guess what? They're going to keep on using you until they can't use you anymore. That's why it's so important that we understand that everything is a process. An airplane cannot take off unless everything is cleared. Everything is cleared. All debris, everything has to be cleared. Because even if a 20-ounce soda bottle that an airline worker was drinking on, if that gets in the engine, guess what? Nobody's taking off. You must clear the runway. And I'm gonna say this again. You must clear the runway. Nothing more. On the scooter in Playa del Carmen. God bless you, brother. God bless you too. Whoa, what a time to be alive. Listen, triple salute. I would love to do that. And that's how it is. If somebody is doing something that you're not doing, tell yourself, I would love to do that. And that's real. That's the realest salute. I would love to be right now on a scooter, but guess what? I'm gonna let you enjoy your moment, but trust and believe. I would love to be doing that right now. So enjoy that. And I hope you're recording content. I hope you're shooting content. When I first started traveling the world, I wasn't recording content. You feel me? But it is what it is. Better late than never. But I want to share with you guys that faith overrides fear. Once you understand that, the game is over. Faith overrides fear because fear is like road rage. Anything could pop up. You can't control an emotion from popping up. You can't control any emotion from popping up. You might slip on the ground and you might control the emotion of embarrassment and say, okay, oh, well, got me, caught me slipping. But guess what? You control your emotion as opposed to falling. Then you got to tell people, oh, I'm sorry for falling. Why do you have to tell somebody sorry because you fell? You guys have to understand any emotion can creep up on you. So when it comes to fear, 9 out of 10, it's easy to feel fear in an environment that you've never been before. That's why a lot of football coaches, they will always tell their players, act like you've been here before. Act like you've been here before, because if you've been here before, what happens is that's how you build confidence. You build confidence with experience. 9 out of 10, when we don't feel confident, we feel fear because we don't have experience in that subject or that topic. For example, when I first started learning Spanish, I used to be afraid. Now I am no longer afraid because it is what it is. Either I practice or I didn't. There's no either or. It is what it is. Nada más, nada menos. Either I practice or I didn't. And if I practice and the practice didn't go according to plan, go back to the drawing board. But now I don't feel fear. But in the beginning, I felt fear. And you're probably thinking, why now as opposed to the beginning? Well, I done talked to a lot of people in Spanish before. I done traveled over 42 people, 82 people. So now I have the experience. But in the beginning, the first time somebody asked me, ¿Cómo está?, I almost literally panicked. I almost literally freezed up. Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero. Almost, like literally in the same spot. She said, ¿Cómo está?. It turned into Jeopardy. Instead of saying bien, it just turned into Jeopardy. ¿Cómo está? What do we do? Control, Alt, Delete. They say, ¿Cómo está?, never to return again, never to return again. So you guys have to understand, when it's all said and done, fear is like any other emotion. But fear will hold you back. See, this is why every year they drop some type of movie about back in 1932 or 1944 or 1929. At that time, people were living in fear. 2025, they're not living in fear. They're driving Hellcats and Trackhawks and TRXs. They're not living in fear. But what happens is they live in fear because it's always the older people. Even if you're in a Hellcat, they're going to tell you you're a slave in a Hellcat. Even if you're in a track car paid off, they're going to say, always remind yourself, W supremacy, you're a slave in a track car. So what happens is people, they stay and remain in the same neighborhood, the same spot. Because even if you want to move away, people put fear in your heart and tell you you don't belong there. Listen, you know how many times people told me I did not belong in a certain neighborhood? I'm like, and it's crazy because I never really answered them because it was so like it was so mind blowing. That's the best way to put it. I couldn't even respond. I mean, but when it's all said and done, it's a good thing I didn't respond because a lot of people that don't like you, if they ask you, oh, if they tell you you don't belong in the neighborhood and you tell them, but you do, they could pull a gun out or they could Carmelo Anthony you because you respond. But you won't believe how many times I heard that. And I would tell you, people that told me that. I heard it from a melanated man from Africa, straight for the motherlands. He told me I didn't belong in one of the neighborhoods that I was living in. He was like, come on, man, you know you don't belong there. Won't you pay for something? He said, won't you pay for something cheaper? In his mind, the fact that he has 3 kids and he couldn't afford it because he has 3 kids and a wife, he wanted to put his fare on me because he's not single without kids. So the fact that he couldn't afford to live there, guess what? He's now trying to pass his fare off on me. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's just how the game goes. So the real reason a lot of people stay on the same street, they whole entire lives, they die on the same street, was because people put fear and tell them, oh, you like that neighborhood over there? You don't belong there. That's how they got tricked out of their position. Everybody, doesn't matter if you're from Chicago, doesn't matter if you're from St. Louis, it doesn't matter where you're from. You could have went to another neighborhood, but the reason you decided to stay and the reason you decided to raise your whole family in the same environment is because you let other people that couldn't afford to live there tell you that you don't belong there because they had bad credit. You listen to somebody with bad credit tell you what you could afford to do. You listen to somebody without resources tell you where you belong. That's what humans would do. If you allow them, humans will literally play God. They will tell you what you could drive, where you could live. They will try to control your life with fear. Let me tell you guys something. A lot of guys that you see in relationships, they try to control the woman with fear. We just did the story earlier about the guy 29 is going to jail for the rest of his life. You know why? Because he didn't have faith in himself. He had faith more in a 24-year-old woman with a child than he did for himself. And that's the reality of it. A lot of people, they live in fear. So it doesn't matter if they get a haircut. It doesn't matter if they wear nice clothes. They're living in fear. They're driving in a Benz in fear. And a lot of people are not talking about this, but people are literally driving in a Mercedes Benz. They are driving in a McLaren power steering, and they're in fear of the engine light. A lot of people live in fear. They're in fear of the engine light. I call them ELG, engine light gangsters. When the engine light is not on, man, they running around, 2 chains. I'm riding around and I'm getting it. I'm riding around and I'm getting it. I'm riding around and I'm getting it. As soon as that engine light come on, oh man, I need a miracle. Listen, if you got to pray to the Lord for your engine light, I'm going to tell you do it. Because if the engine light on, guess what? It could be the transmission. It could be the engine. You don't know. So at the end of the day, if your engine light come on, you might need a miracle. I suggest pray to the Lord for a miracle. When it's all said and done, you got to look at it like this. People without faith love to give advice. You can't give advice. You have to lead with advice. You can't give it. And I'm going to say this again. You cannot give advice. You have to lead with advice. Actions speak louder than words. So whatever you was going to say, show it with your actions. We got 6 more minutes in the building. We live. We lit. You guys have to understand faith is everything. And when you're going through a situation, you might not be able to see that situation, but trust me, it's a reason you don't have what you have. Because if you had what you had, the same people that talk down on you, the same people that spat on you, you think they would have spat on you with 5 million? No, they would have been asking for some ice cream. They would have been asking for some Cheetos. They would have been asking for some Funyuns. They would have been asking for things because at the end of the day, they saw that your seed is growing. You guys have to understand when it's all said and done, if you don't have certain things, you need to celebrate that you don't have certain things. It's simple. And I'm gonna say this again. If you don't have certain things in your life, sometimes you need to celebrate that you don't have certain things. Like, I thank God when I was growing up, there wasn't something called a Hellcat. Because actually, when I was 18, I bought a $40,000 car. So I probably would have aimed for the Hellcat at 18. And if I had a Hellcat at 18, I probably would not be on YouTube right now. But I want to say shout out to all the young guys that are 18 with an old soul that could drive the Cleasy and do the speed limit. Shout out to you guys, 18, 19. It is what it is. I can't speak for you. You can't speak for me. So all you guys out there with the Mopars, 18, 19, 21 that drive responsibly, I just want to take the time and triple salute you. But I know for me, speaking for myself, I know for a fact 18 with a track hawk, it would have been over. It would have been over. Breaking news, Channel 44. You guys have to understand the game is simple. Fear is an emotion, just like any emotion. And when you feel it, listen, remember, fear is not of God. So if you feel fear, that's not what you're supposed to feel. You're never supposed to feel afraid. You're always supposed to feel comfort. That's the beauty of believing in God. Because if we didn't believe in God, fear then will be natural. But we don't believe in God because fear is not of God. God is of love. You cannot lead with fear. And that's what the guys are trying to do in relationships. That's what people try to do in the world. It cannot happen. And I'm going to say this again. God is love. So if you're a leader, you have to lead with love. You cannot lead with fear. A lot of leaders lead with fear, but they're not true leaders. And whatever they started, it will crumble because they was leading with fear. You got to lead with love. It doesn't matter if people are not talking about love. Who cares if people are not talking about positivity? Guess what? Start talking about positivity. Be different. If everybody's pushing negativity and doomsday, guess what? Be different. Push positivity and let them push negativity. But when it's all said and done, you don't follow the crowd because you see people reaping rewards off of negativity. No, if you believe that you like being positive, if you believe that you like being joyful, listen, stand 10 toes down. Just because you see people making a bag off of negativity, we don't have to run to negativity just because they're making a bag. At the end of the day, we are not male 304s. We don't do whatever for a Birkin. We don't start twerking for a Birkin. You guys have to understand that's what it's all about. Pushing P. We push positivity. We don't push pounds. We push positivity. We got 3 more minutes left in the building. Let's go. Stand up. Fear, man, forget fear. What is fear going to do but just hold you back? Why do you think every year they come out with movies when there were a time that people weren't fair? 1932, yeah, people weren't fair. 1920, yeah, people weren't fair. 1910, so that's what they do. That's why Hollywood, if you can't see what's going on, that's why Hollywood, and we got another video dropping about Sinners too. We got a part 2. But that's why Hollywood allows this, because you got to understand, all these melanated directors, they don't own their own studio. So if they don't own their own studio, guess what? Oh, it's a party. It's a party. It's lit. But if they don't own their own studio, guess what? They got to use Warner Brothers Studio. And if they got to use Warner Brothers Studio, it's lit. Welcome to Phoenix. I promise you, everywhere I go in Phoenix, it's like that. Welcome to Phoenix, guys. Welcome to Phoenix, guys. And that's the best part about this apartment. A lot of people will not be able to see you because you're gated. What my man doing over there? But they can't really see because they can't see. So I can see them, but they can't see me. That's how it goes. But you feel me? You talk about stay focused, you feel me? We doing it live. We just seen some thongs. Speaking of thongs, we see thongs here in Arizona because when it's not even fully hot, but when it gets hot, yeah, I'm telling you. But with that being said, you guys have to understand. Man, about to drop his phone. Shout out to my guy. With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in again. We have reached another 20-minute huddle. And I just want to say, man, listen, fair, you can't lead with fear. And as leaders, we lead with love. And like the last caller said, love them at a distance. And I'm going to say this one more time, love them at a distance. But fear, man, if anybody brings fear to your doorstep, if anybody brings fear to you, listen, at the end of the day, that person, they are living in fear. And the fact that they are living in fear, guess what? They will make you live in fear. Love them at a distance. That's the only way to do it. Love them at a distance, because when you love them at a distance, guess what? They can't get close to you. They can't see your iPhone password. They can't see what you're wearing. They can't see your sneakers. They too far to see the sneakers, unless they got binoculars. And if they got binoculars, that's next level stalking. But if they don't got binoculars, guess what? At the end of the day, they can't pop up on you. But who knows? They might got binoculars. It is what it is. Tapping in with you guys, like I said, man, like we're warriors, bro. You can't be a warrior thinking about other people being supreme over you. You can't be a warrior if you're worrying about another man's bank account. You can't be a warrior. These are not warrior activities. They have stripped the warrior spirit out of us, and they turned everybody into fanatics. So instead of guys focusing on their own Bank of America, instead of guys focusing on their own chase, what happens is they want to play politics and get caught up in race. Mr. Keep It Simple, can you say that from the top? Instead of guys focusing on their own bank account, instead of guys focusing on their own Bank of America, and guys, instead of guys focusing on their own chase, what they want to do is they want to get into politics and start talking about race. Let it breathe.